question about reading and writing files from a Easy Robot community member, Boris. So in Boris's post, this is related to the Omron camera, but it's also related to reading and writing files within Easy Builder. So Boris says that he's read the tutorial that I did on reading and writing files, and he's using a script for the Omron camera to detect name and age, and he's using the write file script to write data using file write line, and using a variable from the Omron camera, or two variables actually, the name and then a comma and then the age. So this would be written to on each line every time that the script is looped through. And he says he gets a file output that looks like this. So the sensor data is a little different each time. The camera's sensitivity for age, it's not perfect. It sees Boris as 40, 45, 33, 26, 41, 37, 42. It's not that Boris is changing age, it's just the camera is detecting a little bit different age each time. And what Boris wants to do is take all these and get an average of the ages. So he's writing his data, he's logging it, and then his question is, he's trying to take the read file example, but then he doesn't know what to do with it from there. So, and then he goes on to explain what he really wants to do. He wants to take all of the ages. He knows that he can do it manually, take all of the ages, add them all up to get a total, and then divide it to get the average age, which here from Boris's math should be 39. So that's what we want to do programmatically. So we're going to take a look at how to do that. So if we go to the Easy Robot website, and if we go to the Learn section, and if we go to Tutorials, we can scroll through to find the Read and Write Files tutorial that Boris was talking about. Now this tutorial walks you through the process of how to read files and write files within Easy Builder. I'm going to add to this. I'm the author of it. I'm going to add to it after this to include a couple more things. But I just wanted to point out where it was for others that might not be familiar with reading and writing files at all. So now we're going to take it to the next step, because in the tutorial we walk you through how to do basic things, how to write data to a file, how to read data to a file. But now Boris wants to do something a little bit more advanced, which in step 7 there's some hints to that on how to do that. In step 7, I alluded to making real use of data from your file, because real data, you're probably going to write multiple things to it. In this example, I used like time, comma, like ping, and then comma a value. And then in the example, when we read that line back, I showed how it could be broken down. So if we can break it down, then we can make use of that data, and that's what we really need to do. That's what Boris needs to do, is break down that line data, because it's already separated by commas. So we can look at each segment of that data, and then break it down, and then do what we need to do with it, which in this case, Boris wants to look at the second value in my little example here, I used I declared it as setting it as a new variable, sensor field equals, and then I'm saying split the text at the after the second comma. That'll be the second field, because the first field would be whatever comes before the first comma. So we'll use something similar to this to get the age value, and then we'll simply increment it each time, and then we'll set a counter for how many times we read through the file for each line, so that way we know how many lines there are. So now that that's the basic overview of what we will be modifying. What we're going to do is we're going to take Boris's data here, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go to my temp folder on my C drive, and I'm going to create a new folder, or rather a new file, a new text file, and I'm going to call it my file underscore Boris. I'm going to open the file, and I'm going to paste in all that data. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to clear out that last line, so that way I only have these lines of data. I'm going to save it and close it. I'll minimize that. So now that we have our file saved, we'll take a look at EasyBuilder, and I have the example of the read and write projects loaded. Actually, we'll take a look back at Boris's script example to see what he started with. So what he started with was read file line, and then he has a variable and what it equals, and then print that. So with his, we're going to take his example here and start working with it as a new script. So I'm going to add script, and we're going to call this read file Boris. We're going to paste it in here. Now his directories are different, so I'm going to rename this to temp, and my file is different. It was my file underscore Boris, I think is what I called it, capital B. And then we have, if file does not exist, then we print that it doesn't exist. So this is a good catch-all. Then we're going to set to read the file. We're going to change this variable to something else, because this should be name, because this will be the split at the first split. So we're going to change this to name and read to the end of file and go to start. We're going to save that. I'm going to change the file name, read file Boris. We'll save that, and now we will start the script. Alright, file does not exist. Let's see what went wrong there. Okay, well, I added an in, so that's what went wrong there. Save that, clear out that, and start this again. Okay, so now what we have is in the variable watcher we can see name equals 44. So, and then we have text equals Boris, comma 44. So let's take a look at what was going on in our file. So that's our last line. And then the name is 44. So I want to change this to 0 because my memory is a little fuzzy on this. I want to make sure I'm remembering it correctly. Name equals 0, split before the comma, save. Let's run it again. Start. Okay, this time name equals Boris. Okay, so position 0 is splitting it before the comma. So in our text file, we have Boris, then we have comma, then we have age. But the way Easy Builder reads it reads it in positions. So our data is in position 0, then it's a comma, and then it's position 1, and then a comma, and then 2. It doesn't start out 1, comma 2, comma 3. So that's important that we all know that. I'm going to change the script back to 1, and I'm going to save it. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is add a variable. I'm going to change this up a little bit. sc age equals split variable text comma no 1. That's correct. We want this to be 0. We want name Alright, split the text, the comma. Okay. We're going to change this up a little bit as well. So we're going to say name is, we're going to split it. The name is going to be before the first comma, and the age is going to be before or after the first comma. The next thing I need to do is we also need to add a count function in here so we can count each time that we ran through this loop, because start is a loop until it finishes. So what we're doing is we're saying start, read the file, and then read this data, split it each line, print the name, and when you end it, then in the file process, but until then go back to start. So outside of the loop we want to add a count function. So we're going to set a variable sc count equals 0, and we're going to start it outside of the loop that it equals 0. Now then, inside of the loop, each time it goes through the loop, we're going to say sc count equals sc count plus 1. So this will increment. This will increment our line count. This is going to act as a line count. In fact, we'll change the variable. Sc line count equals 0. Line count. Line count. To clarify that we're actually, what we're doing is counting the lines in the file. The other thing that we want to do is, right now, this age, it's only one, we're only getting the whatever the last file line is. We want to increment this too. So the way to do that is we're going to take our age variable, and inside the loop we're going to say sch equals sch plus sch. But that's not exactly right. We want to leave this variable alone, but we really want to end up with a different variable here. So I'm going to make this one SEH2 and make this one SEH2. So what we're going to, this is still going to be our age variable read from the file, which is still the same here, but we're going to make a new variable, and we're going to say that it equals itself plus age, the age from the file. So we're going to save this, and we're going to run it. I'm going to clear the prior variables, and we're going to run this. I'm also going to clear those out, and I'm going to see what we get. Okay, well, it didn't like our age2 variable, so let's go and do that, because it didn't like this. Alright, we're going to set this and declare it where it starts out before the loop that it equals 0. So we'll save that. We'll clear this and clear this, and we'll start again. Error on line 27, variable not defined. Line 27, print name. Okay, fair enough. We didn't change. I didn't update that. SC name. Fair enough. Save that. Again, I'll clear it out, and we'll start it again. Okay, so this time we have our age2 variable 745. Our line count is 22, and our name is Boris. Okay, now let's take a look back at Boris's post. Now his math total was 745, but his divided by number was 19. So let's see what changed there from his 19 and our reading. because our reading is 745 and 22. Well, let's take a look at our file. Okay, how many lines of text do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we do have 22. What Boris did with his manual math is he ignored the zeros. So that's going to be a little bit of different logic for filtering out if it's a zero or not, if the line happens to be a zero. I'm not going to address that right now. I'm going to take it that you're going to look for the average within these 22 readings, including the zeros, because from the Omron camera, that could be data that you get. For right now, I'm going to continue on with the example as it is, but I wanted to show one difference there. But there's additional logic that you could add. But we'll just continue on. So we have our numbers. So now that we have our numbers, so we've completed our loop. Now we want to do the math outside of that loop because we're finished with it. So now what we want to do is take our age 2, which is our 745 value, and we're going to make a new variable, and we're going to call this sc average age, and we're going to say that equals sc age 2 divided by our line count. And then let's do a print. Sc name, comma. So this would read print Boris is an average age of actually I need to change this. Should not be a comma, this should be a plus. This a plus, and we're going to say that this is supposed to be an S. Copy that. Sc average age. Nope, I did not want the entire line, I just wanted the variable. Close that, and actually I put this in the wrong spot. I'm going to cut all of that out. This should be after the go-to. And we'll save that. And we will start this again. In the file. Something went off track there. Okay. The reason why it went off track is because we have this halt. because in this instance it actually halts the entire process. So we want to change that, and I'm going to, instead of this, I'm going to say go to, and we'll say end. So I'll make it end. And then down here, we'll do end. So now instead of just abruptly halting, we'll go to an end statement. I will save that, run it again, and this time we have a little bit of a spacing issue there. Let's fix that. Clear that again, so that way it reads nicer. Run it again. Boris is an average age of 33.86. And let's see how that compares to what Boris had. Now when he did it and his zeros were not included and he divided by 19, his average age was 39. So you know, that's going to be one difference there, because in our file with the real data, some of this data was logged. So that's where some further logic would need to be added to for some if-then logic, like if there's nothing, if there's no name logged, then ignore it. Perhaps doing something like that. So what we will do is, because this is working, we're going to take all of this, we're going to copy it, and now we're going to make a new script. We're going to call it read file Boris 2. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out the logic to ignore reading those zeros. So a couple of ways we could do that. Let's see. When we're looking at the age, SC age, we could say if SC age equals, or rather is greater than 0, then do these actions. And if. So if SC age is greater than 0, then perform these actions. And if it's not, then it shouldn't take that action. Let's save this. Let's clear this out. Let's clear this out. And let's see what we get. And start. And there we go. We did get our line count as 19, just like Boris showed. So we're effectively skipping the lines with 0 for the age, and our age is 39. Average age is 39. So that logic works. So those are some examples of how you can use real data that you've logged and break it down and use it. And hopefully you found this scripting example helpful. I've kept my errors in it, so that way you can hopefully learn from it as I've gone through and kind of figured it out myself, so that way you can see how you can figure out scripting as well. I think that covers everything with Boris's question.
So